The Red Mage manages to simultaneously be one of the best team players of all jobs in Final Fantasy V, yet is the most unremarkable and disposable. It's all thanks to Dual Cast, the ability to let you cast two spells back to back with no trade-off, as long as you have the spells equipped and the MP required. The only way you'll be able to use Dual Cast and more than one school of magic at the same time is with Mime and its 3 ability slots, but mixing and matching isn't that necessary. Dual Cast Aga spells from the Black Mage, dual cast Holies or Protect Shells from the White Mage, dual cast Quick into Quadruple Meteor for the fastest way to deplete your MP. The only restriction is that blue magic can't be dual casted, and the dark arts, I guess. One of its more underrated features is that it can give you the first 3 levels of black and white magic. So even though your highest damage is Aura stuff, double protect is solid, raise into Cura can get someone out of KO range, double Aura spell can be damage approaching okay if you can use rods, double toad sleeper mini for gimmick shit. It's not incredible, but double anything is as good as the situation calls for. But that's dual cast. How about the Red Mage itself? Not good, unfortunately. Unironically, their best damage option is just spam rod breaks, but that's true of all rod users, and the Red Mage has a middling magic stack comparatively. Their strength is surprisingly high for what it is, and they can use swords, so their status as a frontliner could be a lot worse, hitting people with the Sleep and Ancient swords for great status spread, and the late game Rune Blade can hit some respectable numbers. The Red Mage's combination of good enough strength and magic makes it much better than you'd think, but I also predict that most people have Red Mage play a purely support role with the healing staff and dual cast Protect Cura. And that's with a 4-job Fiesta context, because it's not like the Red Mage has anything going for it in a regular run. Like I said, dual cast gives anyone the red spell list with the accompanying magic score, so the Red Mage uses dual cast the worst out of any job because of the irreplaceable red command stapled onto it. Once you get dual cast, the job ceases to have any meaning, so 4-job Fiestas are all it has to see endgame use. Unless you really like Rune Blade Red Mage anyway. Well, dual cast is the obvious pick for what the second slot ability would be. Just giving them an actual magic would work just as well. They can use staves and rods, so they can boost Holy in the 3 main elements with the respective legendary weapon if they get white, black, or summon. Time fits in well with their support-oriented endgame playstyle. Equip weapon helps if you want to give them more strength for the Rune Blade, because honestly I think that's the only sword they should ever bother using after the 2/3 mark. Equip shields would probably be a little wasteful because they won't be getting any bonus strength or magic, and their supporting will be slower with no dual casts, but like, shields are good. I don't know, you can use just about any ability on them and they can use it at least a little well. It's just hard to shake the "this is a dead job" slot feeling. The Time Mage is the job that hits the perfect point of S-tier support job, while also requiring the least amount of effort, which is why I think it's the best job in the game. Jobs like Blue Mage and Chemist, while similarly amazing in a metagame sense, necessitate item farming or guides for their best features to shine. But Time Mage gets 99% of its best spells just by going to shops and doing even a tiny amount of overworld exploration. Time Magic is overpowered because the concept of taking more turns in a turn-based RPG is inherently going to be overpowered. Haste boosts your starting gauge by a ton. Hastiga being gotten halfway through the game for a full party version of it is insane, especially if you want to save your accessory slot for something that isn't the Hermes sandals. Slow is a debuff that almost no boss in the game is immune to and is exclusive to the Time Mage outside the late game and version specific Cannoneer. Quick is the single best spell in the game that just makes you take 2 turns instantly. Plus it has a few funny gimmicks you can pull off with it. But even the non-time related spells can be great. Float gives you immunity to overworld hazards and really dangerous earth spells. Teleport is a great time saver or emergency encounter escape. Comet and Meteor have wide damage variance, but their damage is uniquely not reliant on level like every move in the game is. Gravity and Graviga shred non-heavy enemies and are particularly good at getting enemies enemies into catch range for the Beastmaster, especially if you have the Carnago Gourd. Their other spells aren't bad necessarily, but they're either more nichely useful or come in later than you'd like. Regen and Stop are okay statuses in isolation, but the Bard does them better because it's party-wide and free instead of one at a time and not free. Old is a great debuff, but you get it at the end of World 2 where many difficult encounters stop being vulnerable to it. Plus you've had the Ancient Sword for a while now. Mute has some great cheese factor against a boss like Gilgamesh, preventing him from buffing himself up, but magic is just super busted, so you better have a strategy for the rest of the fight. Seriously, the Time Mage could just be haste, slow, quick, and it would still be top tier. Maybe even just haste and slow. Turn manipulation is just too good. Their weapon selection means they're another rod breaker, and that gives them some deviation for White Mage in the necessary support mage department. White Mage can't really do damage until the Fork Tower, but Time Mage can do it as soon as you enter Karnak. They can even use staves for some healing staff use. Regen combined with this makes them an okay healer, but far from a dedicated healing job. Their support talents are better spent on haste and slow. They function more or less the exact same the entire game, whether it's a normal run or Forge of Viesta. They don't need any specific equipment to do their job better or worse. They don't specialize particularly well with any of the legendary weapons. They're a mage that might be better off with the Men Gauche than any rod or staff. Oh yeah, speaking of which, the mastery ability of this job gives Equip Rods, which is actually Equip Rods and Staves, so they can turn anyone into a Rod Breaker or Healing Staffer. Without a mage's magic stat, this is questionable, so I think really only the White Mage could use it well. Still, the option exists. Here's some quick gimmicks you can mess with. Using dual casting quick allows you to take 4 uninterrupted turns. Using longer than 1 turn moves like Focus, Jump, or Iainuki will have them perform the move with 0 startup. Using something like Bio on the first action, then just doing nothing and waiting on the second, will kill just about anything in the game because for some reason, Sap continues to drain HP while time is frozen, and it never goes away because time isn't actually passing. I love the Time Mage. It's not my favorite job in the game, but it's definitely up there. The Summoner is a fantastic job, but it does need more time to get going compared to other mages. It specializes in 2 things, and you can kind of see that in its stat distribution. Huge party damage and great party buffs, but both of these things come at some of the heftiest MP costs in the game. That can be remedied by a gold pin, yeah, but since it takes till mid-World 2 to get one, you might be holding off on some Titans or Golems to be conservative. They might also have the most disposable magic list of all mages, which is interesting because it still manages to be top tier despite this. The good summons really just are that good. Chocobo, Remora, and Sylph just suck. Buying them is something you do in a first playthrough and then never again. Ifrit and his friends are great for early party damage, aren't too expensive yet because they're around the cost of the equivalent Aura magic, and World 1 has almost every boss have an elemental weakness, but just like with Aura magic, you need way better spells going into World 2, which fortunately the game solves for you by forcing Titan into your party. With the easily bought Gaia gear and Regol, this catapults the summoner's damage into wipes every encounter in 1 turn for the next few hours. It does cost twice as much as Ramuh though, so right away you're hit with an Aga tier spell cost for a mid-game MP pool. It's a fantastic crutch for where you get it at least. From here, the summoner's utility really does skyrocket. Golem for physical immunity, Carbuncle for the magic equivalent, capping off with the Wind Elemental Sildra and Non-Elemental Bahamut for your final damage dealers. And those 4 are fantastic, but like I said, almost every other summon is disposable. The level 2 summons stopped being strong a long time ago. Katobo Pass is a single target insta-kill gimmick in a game with really weak random encounters. Odin is similar and the backup Gungnir isn't really worth the 48 MP. Leviathan would be better if water could be rod boosted, but Sildra is just better and cheaper. And Phoenix is this game's sole 99 MP cost ability for some reason. It's only a single target revive and the fire damage is surprisingly bad. But again, since the summoner is so all in on support and damage, you only need 1 or 2 good summons for each. The only thing they're outright missing is good party healing since Sylph is bad as soon as you buy it. Summoner can equip Rod, so Rod Breaking is on the table. They can Rod boost the level 2 summons, and they use Air Knives for Sildra real good. Their mastery skill is Call, which calls a random summon from your list of available summons for 0 MP cost. This would be a great ability, since it theoretically fixes the job's biggest drawback, but the forced early game Ifrit and even Titan can really negatively impact you late game if you needed something like Bahamut or Golem. Here's what I think an optimal call list looks like, but even then it's not objective. The addition or omission of Carbuncle I think would be the biggest sticking point for people. Maybe Katobo Pass if you really care that much. Even though Summoner is a Rod job, giving Summon to non-Rod users is still good late game. You don't need any special skills to spam Golem or Bahamut after all, and Sildra is boosted with a knife, so you know. And that's not even mentioning the Summoner's 33 magic giving anybody a massive MP boost. Bad jobs that end up being support bots can benefit heavily from it, since if they're not throwing potions or ethers, they could spend time summoning something instead. Summoner similarly doesn't really need other actives, except maybe white so they have a real healing spell. A 33 magic Curaga makes some good looking numbers, that's for sure. If you have a chemist, the elemental power mix boosts water damage, so Leviathan can be a legitimate threat, and outdamages Bahamut under the right circumstances. There's dual cast, obviously. Dual cast Bahamut is such a simple way to cash out your MP against multi-target bosses and encounters. Bro works great. Again, the high magic makes the scrolls into mini summons, unironically stronger than Ifrit and Rama, with some early water coverage as a bonus. You'd think Gaia would be good, but I think Gaia is independent of your magic, sad to say. Passives can always be the way to go. Something like the Black Mage's MP plus 30% or equip shields helps their longevity. Summoner is just top tier even by itself. It's like the magic version of Samurai. A very fun to abuse and diverse job. The Berserker is the worst job in Final Fantasy V, but don't let that get you down, because even the bad jobs have their own niche. It's not great in random encounters because of the random targeting, but it can be a beast in boss fights where there's typically only one target. However, that random targeting can really bite you in the ass in a couple fights. The Sandworm, you might as well have your Berserker dead, because any wrong target hit causes someone to get gravitied. The Soul Cannon, you can sometimes win or lose purely based on if they want to hit the launchers or not, and way late in the game, Necrophobe's invincible ass can distract them from hitting the dangerous barriers. But when they hit good numbers, damn are those numbers good. So here's what I do every single time I have a Berserker. Farm for at least one Death Scythe on Crescent. It can be more since Equip Axes is actually a really good ability. Use that for just about every fight except for bosses that are immune to instant death, in which case just use whatever axe is currently the most powerful. Swap to the Rune Axe in World 3 and never take it off. Also, if you have a Thief and a lot of patience, you can try and steal the Gaia Hammer from Titan, which is a huge get for them. Even if it doesn't get the Quake proc, the hammer ignores row, so back row Berserker you're hard away. The Rune Axe gets stronger the higher their magic is, so it is well worth your time putting something like Black or Summon on, even Equip Harps just to get any bonus whatsoever. It's not like they're using their MP for anything else, just let them go ham with it. Other good passives for them are Double Grip or Dual Wield, same as any other melee job really. I think I'd go for Double Grip since the Rune Axe doubling damage most likely outdamage any other second axe, but if you dual wielded with a Min Gauche, at least that would keep their shield effects. Berserkers definitely have survivability as a positive between their HP, armor, and shields, but considering that they're barely a party member, you'd hope they could be a little self-sufficient. Straight up, do not use the Berserk passive. White Mage, Chemist, and even the Wonder Rod can do that for you, and at least then if you die, you won't be berserked anymore. The 50% damage buff isn't worth permanently not being able to use items. Equip Axes is legit though. They have the third highest strength in the game, so it's a great damage buff even if you don't want to use axes. But the Death Scythe is such an amazing cheese weapon that giving everyone Equip Axes to insta-kill mid to late game bosses like the Crystals or Twintania is incredible. Or you could give Equip Axes to mages so that they can use the Gaia Hammer or Rune Axe instead, but that seems a bit wasteful when you'll probably only have one of each. No wait, no, you can actually buy Gaia Hammers in the Phantom Village. Well, Food for thought, I guess. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the SNES magic underflow glitch. If you use the Thornlet and the Gaia Hammer on anybody but Lena, the Berserker's magic underflows past 0 and becomes some very large number, letting them get numbers like this on a Quake. I've heard the same thing can be done for the Rune Axe if you steal the Titan Glove from Azulmagia, but I've never successfully stolen it because I hate rare steals for bosses. It's fun to get a Berserker and watch them wreck shit, but they're a one-trick pony, and I can only watch that one trick so many times before I get bored or irritated. The Mystic Knight is amazing, my favorite job in the game because it's such a simple yet creative concept executed in just about the perfect way. Elemental blades that hit a weakness not only do the boosted weakness damage, but also ignore defense. Aga blades insta-kill non-heavy enemies that are weak to the element. Flare blade is an insane damage ramping tool. Sleep blade completely incapacitates any enemy hit by it. Break blade is just flat out an insta-kill sword gotten partway into World 2 and can even one-shot the Elmagus section of Neo X-Death. This job can really do it all. They can even equip shields, and they get auto shell at critical health, which is not something I've ever tried to strategically use. This is outside the scope of this video, but like compare this job to Dancer just in the stat department. No stat penalties. 14, 14, 14, 1. The Dancer is already worse in the ability department, and also +5, +5, -10, -5. It's actually -5 in stats overall, which is insane. I'm pretty confident the reason for that is the ribbon, but like, come on. Got off topic there. I think that the Mystic Knight is the best chicken knife user because they have the great combination of having innate Flare Blade for mega damage, a high stat lineup, and an extra ability slot for something like Rapid Fire to not have to worry about the chicken knife flea. Take it from me, whose most recent 4-job fiesta was Mystic Knight and 3 bad jobs. Mystic Knight can carry any team combination to victory, even when you're dramatically underleveled. Like I said, the only real secondary ability they need is something to use the chicken knife with. Mug, aim, rapid fire, maybe dance if you're really desperate. And even averagely strong weapons like the Excalibur or the Thief Knife will still rock the enemy's shit. It's basically the melee version of dual cast, that's how universally strong it is. Speaking of Excalibur, there's actually a nice underrated benefit of Spellblade, overriding a weapon's innate elements. Many things absorb Holy late game, so the Excalibur isn't as good as it possibly could be, but if you just Flare Blade it, you've got a super strong sword with no potential drawback. Even early game, maybe you're using the Coral Sword against a Thunder Absorb enemy, just put Sleep or Poison on it to make it elementless, no more worrying about it. One last potential gimmick is using the critical HP shell to get free shell at the beginning of fights. This ability is super inconsistent in my experience. Sometimes when you come into a fight it activates, sometimes it doesn't. If you can figure out the specifics, then coming into a tough fight at critical health, then curing everyone up to full for a free full party shell sounds good. I say sounds because I've never actually tried to attempt this, but maybe it could be useful if you're doing a level 1 run with no Beastmaster to get past the Sandworm. Just a really fun and really good job. No notes.